Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Capnclyde's MTG as we go through part 8 of Kamigawa leaks. We're getting close to the end. There's only a couple 50 or so left. Maybe. I'm bad at math. Anyway, here we go, boys and girls. Before we get started, remember, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell at the bottom, comments feed the YouTube algorithm to help get us to 1,000 subscribers. So, with all that out of the way, let's get into these leaks. Trade tables and seat backs in a full upright position, boys and girls, because we got some doozies. We'll start it off with the Colossal Sea Turtle. And it looks like he has a growth on his back. But anyway, so for a blue, 2 green, and 4, we have a 6/5 uncommon with flying and ward 2. Is that floored instead of flample? Anyway, floored 2. Been floored twice. Anyway, this also has 2 kinds of channel on it, apparently. For green and 2, you can discard the turtle and return target card from your graveyard to your hand. You can also channel with blue to discard the turtle and return target creature to owner's hand. So it's actually pretty sweet. Um, this is probably really only going to see play in Commander. Uh, but I mean, come on, guys, this is a great Commander card. I love this turtle. I think this looks pretty sweet. I mean, also limited is going to be good. I don't see. I don't think it will see play in any way, shape, or form in any other format. But this is pretty sweet with lots of abilities on it. And who knows, maybe it does make its way into standard, but it is just an uncommon. Removal is really easy to kill it. It's only ward 2. It's 7 mana. So, with that said, I do like it, but I don't see it showing up in a lot of places. All right, March of Swirling Mist. So here's the March of the blue March. So for a blue and X, it's an instant. Oh, here we go. This is the one where you can ditch blue cards to make it cost 2 less. It says tap up to X target creatures, or up to X target creatures phase out. That's very underwhelming. I mean, it's a great combat trick, don't get me wrong. It's probably going to be fine and limited as a combat trick. Um, maybe a sideboard in standard, but other than that, I don't see this thing doing anything. Maybe commander guys want to play it for giggles. Because remember, guys, when something phases out and then phases back in, it doesn't trigger any of the battlefield effects. So phasing's not as cool as just bouncing or blinking. Um, so this is actually very disappointing for me. I was really hoping that it'd be something like draw a card, discard a card, or something. Yeah. You tell me below, guys, what you think, but I'm really disappointed in this one for a blue card. All right, moving right along. We have the green Invoke, which is Invoke the Ancients. It's 4 green and 1, just like the rest of them. Create 2 4/5 green spirit creature tokens for each of them. Put your choice of Vigilance counter, a Reach counter, or a Trample counter on it. So, wow, 5 mana for 2 4/5. This is going to be the bomb in Limited. And I could very easily see this being very good in standard. I mean, 5 mana for 2 4/5s, that's 8 power, 10 toughness. Sweet love of God for 5 mana. I don't think you'll see a whole lot of play anywhere else because it's a sorcery. It's not a creature, but I mean, Commander might like it. It's got a lot of prospects. I like this a lot. Pretty good green card for an Invoke. Moving right along, we have Comet, Kumano faces Kakazan. I have no idea. Somebody help me out. Anyway, put it down below. Deals 1 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control for 1 red. Okay, that's okay. When you cast your next creature spell this turn, that creature enters the battlefield +1/+1 counter on it. Eh. And it comes in as a 2/2 with haste. That says if a creature dealt combat damage this turn by a source you controlled would die, you exile it instead. So I honestly don't see a whole lot of this going down in limited just because. I mean, maybe if you have a turn 2 creature, standard if you have a turn 2 creature, but drawing this late game just seems horrific. So I don't see us getting a whole lot of play in many of the formats, if any. So moving right along. Next here we have the Long Reach of the Night. So for a black and 3, each opponent sacrifices a creature unless they discard a card. That's the first 2 for 4. That's actually pretty sweet. And then it flips, it comes in as an 0/4 Menace. Whenever the Animus of Night's Reach attacks, it gets +X/+0 in a turn where X is the number of creature cards in defending player's graveyard. This is going to be a phenomenal. Let's see, discard a card. This will be okay in limited. I think it probably costs too much to be good in standard or any other format. Maybe, I mean, it'd be great in commanders. It says each opponent, so you can do a lot of shenanigans there. Um, so yeah, it's okay. Moving right along, next we have Jugen defends the temple. So green and 3 for a mythic. This should be good. Create a 1/1 green human monk creature token. All right, so you make a 1/1 green elf basically. That's human. Anyway, next put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 creatures. That's not terrible. And then it comes into play as a flying 2/2 that says whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on that creature. As long as you control 5 or more modified creatures, Remnant of the Rising Sun gets +5/+5 and trample. I think this is easily going to be a $10 card. Only because it plays really well with the sagas and enchantments like Ranger class and stuff we already have for mono green. The only thing that might hold it back is better 3 drops, like the troll that has trample and so forth. But eventually that troll will cycle out, and I think this is going to be something that takes its place. And it's only a 1 green starter. I do like it. I'm going to guess around $10. Standard play, definitely limited play. Probably nowhere else, though. Sagas aren't real popular in older formats. All right, we have Iganjo, Seat of the Empire. We've already reviewed this one. Comes in with a white, channels for 3, 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature, reduce the cost by 1. Think it's an amazing card. I would play 4 of in any white deck just because it is removal plus land. It's just amazing. Limited, standard, um, maybe even some Pioneer era stuff. Here's the Kami of Transcendence we already looked at. It's a green and 1 for the 2/2. It has trample. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you put +1/+1 counter on it. Beginning of each end step, if an enchantment is put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn, you may return Kami from your graveyard to your hand. An amazing card. Everybody's talking about it. We've already went there. Probably about a $5 card. It's going to be great in all the formats, especially Commander. All right, so here's a new one. Reassembled Automation. So we have 2 colorless. It's a construct with a ward 2. It's a 1/1. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Reassembled Automation. So this is going to be really big. In standard, we already got a lot of artifacts going on with this new set, so it's going to be halfway decent there. It's going to be amazing, probably in limited if you've got enough stuff to fuel it. But the thing I'm really looking at is Affinity, Hammer Time. Like those modern decks are just chock full of artifacts, and this is just another major threat that's going to be hard to deal with. I mean, it is pushable and so forth and so on, but still, it's a good threat. So I think it has some possibilities. Moving right along, Bronze Clubs. In other words, Big Stick. For 1 colorless, you get an equipment artifact. Equips for 1. Till end of turn, equipped creature gets +X/+O, where X is the number of times this ability has resolved this turn. This ability. Until end of turn, equipped creature gets. Oh, okay, so for 2, you get +1/+1. For 4, you get +2/+2. For 6, you get +3/+3. Ugh. It's not real good. It's going to be great and limited. You could definitely see some commander play with infinite mana loops and stuff. Those guys like the kind of shenanigans like to go down. Maybe even some stuff like that in Pioneer because they do have infinite mana loops that are a little easier to do. And this could be a way to just murder somebody, just clubbing the baby seals. Well, there goes that one. This one's not going to go on the algorithm now. Anyway, moving right along. We have Farewell. We have the new Wrath of God / kill everything / Jocko Hops. So 2 white and 4 says choose 1 or more to exile all artifacts, all creatures, all enchantments, all graveyards, everything but planeswalkers and land. It's basically Jocko Hops light. This is an amazing white card, which is probably why it costs 6. But this is going to be played in so many formats. It's going to be great and limited just because you can. Standard's probably going to see this in some control decks. Commander decks are going to want one of these if you're playing white because you can just pick what you board white. Plus, it's an exile effect, so they don't get the stuff back. I mean, that's probably the best places you're going to see this get played because it costs so much. This is going to be an amazing card while it's in. Yeah. Next here we have Go Shintia of Lost Wisdom. That is the most interesting upside down man thing. Yeah, anyway. Blue and 1, you get an O for it, flying, and it's a shrine, guys, so another shrine card. Beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 colorless. When you do, target player mills X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. Oh boy, shrines that mill. So there is going to be a disgusting shrine deck, because don't forget, there were a couple shrines in standard already, and now there's this. And then the commander shrine deck was always a thing. This may bring the shrine deck back in Alchemy slash Pioneer, whatever set that was in. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be good for 2. It's still 0-4 flyer. It blocks. Unlike most shrines, you can protect your life. So, Blade Blizzard Kitsune, a white and 2 for 2/2. Ninjutsu 4 though, but it does have double strike. So, not bad. Good uncommon. Great for limited. Probably won't see much standard action, if any. And that's probably as far as it's going to go. Well, I mean, Commander might want this for the Ninjutsu Commander deck. Alright, so we have another Mythic. It's red. Explosive Singularity. Okay. 2 red and 8. Holy cow. Sorcery, as additional cost to this spell. Jeez, there's more. You may tap any number of untapped creatures you control. The spell costs 1 less for each creature tapped this way. Alright. Explosive Singularity deals 10 damage to any target. I have reservations. I mean, it's really good if you're going to play that Iganjo card. It just gives you a bunch of guys with Vigilance. You literally can just attack with all your guys. They block what they want, and then you can tap all your guys and blow them up in the face. Like, there's going to be things that can be done with this. Once someone figures out how to break it, it's probably going to be something that has to be banned. Let's hope that doesn't happen, because if this thing gets banned, that means someone's found a really broken combo in some format. Maybe limited, because that's a lot of casting cost. Maybe standard. Once again, a lot of casting cost. So if it's gonna show up anywhere, boys, it's gonna show up in a combo deck. So probably commander. If someone figures out how to do a combo with this, this is probably gonna be a very expensive card. Moving right along, we have Rizona RZ Commander, white, red, and 1 for a 3/3 haste. When it deals combat damage to a player, if it doesn't have indestructible, oh yeah, we covered this. It doesn't have an indestructible counter on it. You put 1 on it. Whenever combat damage is dealt to you, you remove the indestructible counter. Just a good card. Probably will see some standard play if red white becomes a thing. It's gonna be fantastic and limited. Probably about it though. Next we have Dockside Chef. So for 1 black, you get a 1/2. That for a black and a colorless, you can sacrifice an artifact or creature to draw a card. So pretty sweet. You can even sacrifice itself after it blocks. Lots and lots of promise here. Definitely going to be a limited all-star, I think, if you are in this color. Standard will probably see a little bit of play with this, only because it's cheaper to cast than the 1/4 that costs 3. But it does the same thing, basically same amount of mana. Who knows? Maybe there'll be some kind of weird aristocrat build around this. Moving right along. All right, we have Flame Discharge, a red and X instant. Deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If you control a modified creature as you cast this spell, it deals X plus 2. So if you have a modified creature, you basically have a shock plus a bolt, or a shock, which you can upgrade for 1 to incinerate, which you can upgrade then to a demon bolt or whatever. So it's going to be a fine limited card. Probably won't see much play past that, because it doesn't deal damage to anything else other than creatures and planeswalkers. And in the older formats, you have things like that 1 red spell, which I'm having a brain fart on, which is taking over modern, does 6 damage, and bolt and other things like that. So I just don't see it being a big deal. Moving right along, we have Dragon Spark Reactor. So for a red and 1, you get an artifact. Whenever the reactor or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a charge counter on Dragon Spark. 4 and sacrifice the reactor. It deals damage equal to the number of charge counters on it to target player, and that much damage to up to 1 target creature. Be good and limited if you got a lot of artifacts. Other than that, probably won't see a whole lot of play, honestly, in standard, unless there's an artifact deck out there that really wants something like this. Because I think most artifact decks are probably going to be vehicle based, which this doesn't really fit into. And in older decks, it is cheap enough to be played, but 4 mana to sacrifice it is a lot of mana. So I don't think it's going to cut it, guys. Moving right along. I mean, maybe Commander, but everything's maybe Commander. So Springleaf Avenger, 2 green and 3 for a 6/5 rare ninja insect. When it deals damage, combat damage to a player, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. It has Ninjutsu 4. This thing is bonkers. Um, yeah, being able to Ninjutsu this in and get a permanent out of your graveyard plus deal 6 damage for 4. Wow, this seems good. Definitely going to see limited play. Probably will see standard play. 4 mana is not that hard in standard, especially if you're going to Ninjutsu it in. And if you don't, I mean, for one more, you still just cast it, and then they have to block it, or you start getting stuff out of your graveyard. Gonna be great in Commander with the Ninjutsu deck, or just any deck in general, because I just think this is a really good ability to have. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be expensive all that much. Maybe the foil alternate version of like this one, but it'd be okay. Unforgiving one. All right, so we have a black and oops, slow down there, killer. What have I done? Me. There we go. So Unforgiving one, black and 2 for a 2/3 minutes, not bad. When it attacks, return target creature card with mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of modified creatures you control. Very interesting Gravedigger. This will probably be good in limited if you're running a modified deck, just because being able to get stuff back will be phenomenal. If there's a good modified deck in standard and it's playing black, this will be just amazing. But outside of that, I think it's really too hard to get anything else for this to work. Anything else other than maybe Commander, if modified creatures becomes a deck. I mean, maybe. All right, so here we have the Seismic Wave, red and 2 instant, deal 2 damage to any target, 1 damage to each non-artifact creature target opponent controls. All right, so 2 damage to one thing, 1 damage to everything else that's not an artifact. Interesting. I mean, I guess in limited, if you're hard up for removal, this will work. Because it basically for 3 can do 3 damage to one thing and 1 to everything else. It's a good board wipe for tokens, technically. Might see some sideboard and standard, probably about as far as it's going to go. We have the Ogre Helmet, guys. It's a red and 1 for a 2/2 creature. It's an artifact creature equipment. When you equip it, the creature gets +2/+2, and whenever the Ogre Helmet or equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, discard your hand and draw 3 cards. Reconfigure 3. This seems bonkers good. Like a red deck, like mono red rush with this, like you empty your hand out, you reconfigure this onto something, or the helmet itself just punches the opponent for 2. You've already emptied your hand, you can then sacrifice it for free and discard the hand you don't have to draw 3 cards. This seems so good. This may even make it into modern. I mean, I doubt it, but I mean, it's got possibilities just because of the abilities it has. Um, yeah, God, this seems good. I'm gonna guess about $5 card, limited, standard play, maybe modern, pioneer probably, definitely in commander. Moving right along, Rabbit Battery, 1 red, artifact creature with haste. Equip creature gets +1/+1 in haste, reconfigures for 1. This is pretty sweet. Nice cheap for red rush. Um, yeah, just a good card. Standard playable, limited playable. Probably as far as it goes, might see some modern play, but I doubt it because it's actually colored. There's actually better cards that are not colored that have the kind of the same effect. So we'll see how it goes, but I think that's where all the place is going to go. Invigorating Hot Spring. So red, green, and a colorless enchantment. When it enters the battlefield with 4 +1/+1 counters on it, modify creatures you control have haste. You remove a counter from Invigorating Hot Springs. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery and only once per turn. This is pretty much Fires of Yavimaya, but you only get to use it 4 times. I mean, in a modification deck, you can just modify creatures in general, but basically this is Fires of Yavimaya. For those of you who don't know, Fires of Yavimaya gave everything haste, and you could sacrifice it to give bonuses. So this is kind of an offshoot of that. And Fires of Yavimaya was a rare, and it's seen play. Lots of it. So will this see play? Definitely limited. This could be the new go-to in like a Gruul deck because of the haste and modification making things bigger. I think it's going to see play in standard. Probably not Pioneers. It doesn't do enough after it loses all this stuff. But yeah, I think it's sweet. I like it. Next we have Dokuchi Silencer. Ooh, Gucci, Gucci, Gucci. Anyway, so for a black and 1, you get a 2/1 ninja with ninjutsu for the same cost. When it deals combat damage to player, you may discard a creature card. If you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker that player controls. Wow, that's good. Um, That's a lot better than I thought it was going to be, guys. And here's why. Like, if you're playing a mono black aggro deck, your creatures are not going to be good. So if you can ninjutsu this in because something doesn't get blocked, and then discard your shitty 1/1 creature to destroy their like 5/6, that's just bonkers. Um, or their planeswalker. Like, if they lay a planeswalker because you can't kill it with this, you basically just punch them with this and then discard a creature to destroy the planeswalker. Like, this has lots of potential for a mono black deck. It's gonna be great in limited. Um, Great in standard, I think. It might even be playable in some of the older formats. This is a pretty sweet uncommon. All right, next we have Containment Construct. So for 2 mana, you get a 2/1. That's a great rate right there. Whenever you discard a card, you may exile that card from your graveyard. If you do, you may play that card this turn. Good lord. We just looked at a card that that made you discard to kill stuff. Now you can discard, kill stuff, and put it right back into play. So this is going to be phenomenal. There's tons of stuff that makes you discard. You can make yourself discard. Yeah, just I think this is amazing. Standard probably, definitely limited. Maybe even some older formats. This is just a really cool ability that doesn't take anything to activate. I mean, last time we seen something like this, it was on something that had to attack first, which normally meant it died. This thing just says do it. So yeah, moving right along. All right, Iganto Exemplar. Oh, I'm tongue tied. So white and 1 for 2/1. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 to end a turn. So uh, it's kind of like a semi pump spell that makes anything 1/1 bigger. Like this is technically a 3/2 for 2 or whatever else there is. Um, yeah, it's almost good. It's kind of a toned down version, really, of Exalted, basically. I mean, that's the best way I can explain it. It's a toned down version of Exalted. Um, I mean, it does trigger on every creature. So if you have like 2 of these, it would be like having 2 Exalted creatures. So it's really interesting they decided to go that route with it. But so this could be good depending on how the decks are out there. There's lots of stuff that do this. But it does only target samurais and warriors, so it's not real exalted. So that may be why they decided to do it this way. All right, moving right along. Next here we have Aki Ronin. Aki Ronin. Anyway, so 1 red and a colorless for a 1/3. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So see, here's another one where you can discard a card and have that artifact in play. Put it out of play so you can play it, and then draw a card, and then play the card you discarded because you know what it was. Like, there's lots of there's a lot of shenanigans going on here that can be really cool and limited. It may even be really good in standard, I think, if we get the right kind of deck built around it. But other than that, probably won't see it anywhere else. Maybe Commander, obviously. You can see anything in Commander. No offense, guys. So, with that said, guys, we have come to the end. Thank you for your time. If you didn't catch it at the beginning of the video, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. There's a link um, in the description below to the eBay store if you want to help support the store and you've already got everybody subscribed and everything else you can do. I do appreciate it. And with all that said, guys, until next time, be kind. And remember, I hope to see you across from the game table.